My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Sabalenka for the trophy. Toss up, serve down, out wide, it's Alette. Anisimova bouncing around beyond the baseline. Sabalenka again puts a big serve in. The backhand return up the line. Anisimova just misses. And Arina Sabalenka falls to her knees, head in her hands. The world's largest tennis arena still belongs to Arina. Sabalenka is a back-to-back U.S. Open champion.
Well, hello there. Welcome to WTA Weekly. We were very much kind of brought up to speed there by excellent commentary from Matthew, who it's always great when we can get him on and calling a match, and Tihenko on a final is just brilliant. And I'm joined by the second best commentator on the channel after him, and that's John Silk. John, how are you doing?
If I'm second and you're first, does that put Matthew down to third? Or where do you rank?
First. What are you talking about?
All right, so where do you rank in the pantheon?
Oh, gosh, fourth or fifth. I don't know.
Okay. All right, so you're ahead of some. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, what I love about Matthew, of course, is his enthusiasm, and he's a great, what's the word? Like an individual, a front runner, someone who's, who can lead from the front, you know, and I enjoy that. And there's obviously tennis players that are reminiscent of that as well, and we're probably going to be talking about some of them today.
Well, Sabalenka's one of them, I would say, who is the US Open champion and defends the title. She was always going to be in the conversation. She is at every single slam. She's always been strong in New York, and clearly it would have taken a lot to have knocked her off her pedestal this tournament. And I feel like, John, I don't know if you agree with that, Sabalenka wasn't talked about very much because this run, it's like, oh yeah, Sabalenka's won. Of course she has. It was always going to be towards the end that we started to look and see, like, what could anyone do to beat her? And then it turned out not a lot.
Yeah, you know what? I was thinking about this today. I think, with the exception of Iga winning the title, I think I was going to be surprised by all of them. So what do I mean by that? So let's start with Arina, and I'll bring it back to her, and we'll obviously hone in on her and her success and the bigger picture in a moment. But Arina winning the title does surprise me a little bit because I had a lot of doubts about her. I saw her form over the first 6 months of the year as being imperious, unbelievable. But from probably the minute the grass court season began and until around about midnight, where I was watching on Saturday, I saw her as being vulnerable. I saw her as being someone who wasn't playing the same level of tennis as she was in the first 6 months. I saw her being vulnerable as well in terms of the draw. I thought was pretty tricky. I saw Clara Towson in her way in the fourth round, Elena Rybakina in the quarterfinals. Now, neither of those two matches came to fruition, of course. So I had lots. Gavin McMillan even just suddenly rocks up in Coco's camp. I didn't even know that Gavin was no longer working with Arina. So there was just lots of things that were just sort of not suggesting to me that she was going to be retaining her title. But I could go on and look at the other people in the draw. I look at Pegula, who since Bad Homburg was 2-4. There was nothing to me that suggested that she was going to be lifting her first Grand Slam title. Anisimova, I thought that would be a while before we would see her in a Grand Slam final again, having lost the way she did in Wimbledon, and how wrong, of course, I was on that. And Coco, so many doubts about her coming into the tournament, and so on and so forth, that everywhere I looked in the draw just suggested to me that Iga, with a okay draw, I've looked at Iga's draws over the last 18, 24 months and gone, oh my goodness me, Noskova here and Ostapenko there and Rybakina here. And all of those players were not there in her draw. So I was suddenly thinking, okay, she looks good to go deep. And I kind of trust her and her form more than anyone else on the tour right now. So it was just, I had so many doubts about everyone that even Aryna Sabalenka, who's been, the world number one in every way, shape and form this year, I just didn't see her lifting the trophy, but here we are.
Okay. Did she change your mind with any of her performances during the tournament?
Yeah, a little bit. The nearer it got to the final, once those players that I highlighted, Towson and Rybakina, went out. Towson went out first round, of course, to Alex Ayala in I guess one of the matches of the tournament, and certainly one of the comebacks, 5-1 down in the deciding set. Ayala. Once those two things, and sometimes you do look at draws sort of fall into place. There's certain other ones that, and then suddenly those scary players coming up don't appear, and you're like, oh, okay, now I see a path to the final, and when they're there. So I guess as well, particularly once Iga went out, that was probably the big moment. But even an Iga Arena final, which we're still waiting for, Nick, even that, I think, I would have thought, okay, maybe now it's in the final and these two are going against each other. It's 50-50. I never quite know how, apart from Madrid, I never quite know how their matchup is going to go, especially on a hard court. I just think it just depends on who performs and who doesn't on the day. And that would have been an intriguing matchup. But yeah, here we are. Arena is lifting her first slam. And you know what? I'm going off a various tangent again here, Nick, but with Arena, I put this out, I think, on Twitter the other day. She's a handful of points away, and I would say less than 10, maybe even fewer than 5 points away from the best women's season since Steffi Graf in '88. I don't know what you think about that.
I would definitely disagree with that, because there's definitely some Serena Williams seasons in there that I would immediately throw back at you.
Let me tell you the 5 points, okay? She saves match point against Madison Keys, okay, in the Australian Open final. She holds as a result. That's quite logical. Now, the tiebreak, of course, could go either way, and we don't know. Let's call the tiebreaker 50-50. It could have gone either way. I would have suggested that Arena would have had the momentum, but and also the experience of winning the title before. But you don't know. But let's just say 1 point there. 1 or 2 points in Indian Wells, 1 or 2 points at the French Open, 1 or 2 points, maybe even just one against Anisimova. Now, of course, I'm ifs, buts, and maybes. But there is an argument to say that season, if you win, if you do the calendar slam, that's better than something Serena's ever done, right?
It is, yes. So if your point is that she would win, she was a few points away from winning the calendar slam,
yeah,
then I would agree with you. I think it's a stretch to suggest that she that was on. I think
I agree. It is a stretch.
The Keys one, I think I agree with you on. I don't know about Wimbledon. I'm going to be honest. I do. I still have faith that Iga would have won that final.
Yeah, you might be right. And listen, I'm just making a case for a few points away. I think she does the calendar slam. It's the second best season since, and then you throw in all the other titles, which is wild. Then it is the second. But yes, it is. It is ifs, buts, and maybes. I know
it's a lot of ifs, buts, and maybes, and I think it's one of those things to talk about. It's like, oh, it could be an even better. It could be an even better season for Aryna Sabalenka, and yeah, it's possible. But the fact she got ice, the result of this final was going to define whether her season was good or great. And now we're going, yeah, but it could have been really great. I think
it matters when it occurs. If she wins Australia and then the rest of the year is like it is, she'll be feeling, But the fact that the end one was, she can go, thank goodness, and it's a relief, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a level of relief for this one, but having said that, she didn't look like a player under pressure in the final. she started really well.
Yeah.
Only lost. I think she's only breaking back when Anisimova hit, just hit top gear, and then could sustain being in top gear to break back. She's now, and then when it got to a tie break, I was like, yeah, Arena's winning this because she's now won 19 tie breaks in a row, which is insane.
Mm-hmm. That is wild. Yeah.
Didn't lose. Yeah, Jake's right. Her composure was great. She didn't lose. Her unforced error count in that final was super low. I can't think of another Grand Slam final which she's played where it was super low. Maybe the Australian Open final of 2024 against John Chin-Wen. But even then, she got tight serving that one out. She didn't get tight on this one. Yes, she needs 3 championship points because Anisimova served great on the first 2. So for me, I think this is the most impressed I've been by Sabalenka in a Grand Slam final. The level that she brought consistently was so good, and even managed to raise it because I noticed that she just decided she realized she could live with what Anisimova throw at her and kind of go toe to toe and throw it back at her. She looked like a champion today. She didn't look like someone under pressure. And hey, if in some ways this would have been the hardest one to win because every slam opportunity she's had this year up to this point, there was less pain preceding it. There was a lot more confidence. To kind of come out and show the most composure with the most pressure, to me, is really, really impressive. And I think that should be the overriding feeling from this US Open title for Sabalenka, is that she's still here. She's still the best in the world. And I do believe that, it's her and Iga in a class, they're pretty close, but
yeah.
She's in that category of best in the world, and there's a reason why she's always in the mix, and you can't say that about pretty much anyone else. So
that's exactly what I said at the beginning of the tournament, or just pre-tournament, regarding Iga and Arena are the only 2 players that you can rely on to get to the second week, and the facts bear it out. In terms of the fact that the only 2 players that have made the second week at every slam this season. In fact, they've got to the quarterfinals or beyond at every slam, I think it is this year. They're the only 2 players at the beginning of the draw. And this is, I made the example of half a dozen players, basically, from Pegula via Paulini to Svitolina, Kalinskaya. Wherever you look, you think they could make the semifinals or they could go out second round. And that's, in fact, in Svitolina's case, I think she went out first round. And that was the case. There was only 2 players going into this tournament that and looking at the rest of the year, that you're like, they're okay to the second week. I don't know how it will be in the second week. They might not get to the final, as it turned out in Iga's case. And I had doubts about Arena. But they're the only 2 players on the tour right now that you can sort of, at Grand Slams especially, but even other big tournaments, you just sort of can trust them, if that makes sense. And also trust them. Trust them to beat 95% of the tour, I guess. Yeah. Whereas everyone else can beat everyone else on any given day, which is why it's a much more exciting product right now, than in my opinion, than the ATP.
Indeed. And in fact, actually, I would go one step further in that right now, you've got these 2, Arena Sabalenka and Iga Swiatek, are at the 2 the kind of 2 at the top. I will be controversial and throw Coco in there as well. She's not consistently in there, but she kind of jumps up and down.
That's my thing with Coco. I mean, listen, I had Coco making the semis here, and I actually had her at world number 2 year end. So at the beginning of the year,
I think Coco's star power and potential is on par with them. So,
but do you not think going into this tournament, she might go out to Naomi, she might go out before the quarters? Whereas I just didn't think that.
Well, only because she was getting her serve fixed during the tournament. So that was the thing that was holding her back. With Coco, I think it's just she will hit a hot streak out of nowhere and win a big event.
Definitely. But I just can't quite rely on her right now. I mean, she goes out first round at Wimbledon, for example. So you're just like, okay, yeah, I know it's grass and we're talking about different surface. But also, her results build in the lead up here were nowhere near as stellar as 2023. So there was something very much building, wasn't there, that year? Whereas this year it was like, I watched her against Tomjanovic, and we talk about 1 or 2 points. Again, she could go out, but I don't feel like that with Iga and Arena.
No. I don't feel like that about Goff either early in the tournament, usually. I think I think it's more towards the middle and the end that you that's when the questions come up. But I think I'm too used to Coco winning ugly and getting wins to kind of really doubt her in that respect. Going back to Sabalenka and Swiatek, like they're up there, right? They're the ones that is going to be the story of the tournament. But the rest of the tour on their day can beat them. The rest of the tour, but like they don't do that consistently. That's why you never get the same names over and over and over again, or very rarely do. You might get someone who pops up more often, like Emira Andreeva or an Amanda Anisimova at the moment. Like that those names will maybe pop up a little bit more often. So,
I mean, the thing is,
you get to that, but the ATP, you don't get that right now. Like nobody can catch Sinner and Alcaraz, but that's why to me it's interesting because you can have another name with a possibility of a different story. But even if you don't, you're going to get Arena Iga, and that's going to give you some good quality.
How good are you at remembering this year's results for Iga at big tournaments? I'm quite good, but I don't think I'd get them. Like, so 1,000s and slams.
1,000 slams. So Australian Open semi-final, Dubai semi-final, Doha semi-final, Dubai quarterfinal. I get this two mixed up all the time. Indian Wells semi-final, Miami quarterfinal, Madrid semi-final, Rome third round / last 16. It was last 16. No, last 32 was the third round. Semi-finals of Roland Garros, one Wimbledon, quarters of Canada, and then one Cincinnati, quarters of the US.
Right, great. Thank you very much. Coco Gauff is. Let's have a look. I'm having to look
up and down.
Exactly. So that's kind of my point. I mean, let's have a look at her Australian Open. I've forgotten this year. So it's 20 at quarterfinal, yeah. But basically, just every single result. And by the way, you can throw in. I know it's not a big tournament, but she also made the final in Bad Homburg. But basically, every single tournament bar one, she's making the quarterfinals or beyond. Whereas Coco Gauff is dawn. And so, first round Wimbledon, what I was just having a quick look at her, Miami and Indian Wells. Miami round of 16, Indian Wells round of 16. So, then you throw in wins French Open, first round Wimbledon. Her Cincinnati, I don't know, but I'm going to say round of 16 off the top of my head for Coco. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with basically anyone else on the tour that isn't called so quarterfinals in Cincinnati. Anyone else that isn't called Iga or Arena, I just don't know, and I like that. I like it that Coco can be world number 2, blah blah blah, and then suddenly lose to Jasmine Paolini in 3 sets in Cincinnati, or can lose to Bencic in Indian Wells, I think it was, and yeah, that's it. It's just those two. When I go into a slam, I'm like, yeah, they're getting to the second week, and then we'll see who they could be drawing against and how they perform.
And well, it turned out Sabalenka who performed this one. Although I gather Iga was hampered by a foot injury.
Was she? Okay.
Yes, it came out in her press conference afterwards that she was struggling with a foot problem, which made sense because she wasn't quite stretching for some shots on the forehand, as you would expect. But
what did you make of the final, by the way?
Sorry?
Or what did you make of the final, obviously, with Anisimova? Just, we don't want to spend too much time on the final because we're already 20 minutes in and we've not got to the runners and riders yet. But just in terms of, did you think Sabalenka would win? I mean, you touched on her performance, but also, of course, Anisimova on the other side of the net. One thing I didn't expect was anything like we saw at Wimbledon in terms of Anisimova. I knew that even the first 2 games, or the first game that she lost, I think, and then she immediately broke back, didn't she? It was like, I'm not worried about in the same way that I was probably a few weeks before. I could see the way she was playing at this tournament and also the tournaments building up, that actually she'd not entirely, but pretty much put, and even the first 2 games, if you watched the patterns of play in those first 2 games, it was nothing like Wimbledon, where it was like, she didn't turn up for whatever reason.
Yeah. I think there's two different questions in there, isn't it? But they're both kind of linked with in terms of the final and then Anisimova's level. Okay, I'm going to be honest.
Go on.
Had I given you a preview for that match, I would have said Anisimova to win.
Right, exactly. So there was a lot of. I felt pretty good about her before the final. Yeah. I think I would have tipped Sabalenka. In fact, I did tip Sabalenka, but it was not clear cut for me. Whereas Wimbledon was.
Had I picked it like basically, although I mentioned Iga's foot injury, I don't think Iga necessarily fully fit would have beaten Anisimova, or at least it would have taken her 3 sets to do it in that quarterfinal, because Anisimova was just so good and she was striking the ball so well, and she carried that over into the Osaka match. It took a set to get going, but breaks Naomi back, takes the first set to a tie break, wrestles the match back into her control, does really, really well. Final. She's just up and down, and the final was kind of defined by the fact that Sabalenka kept a consistently high level, if not got better as the match went on, compared to Anisimova, who was up and down throughout it. She, I think the start off fairly even. Sabalenka gets the early break. Anisimova goes hell for leather, breaks back, gets a break up. You're like, okay, now this is with Anisimova. The level drops, Sabalenka breaks back, takes control. And that was the thing. Sabalenka just was fine, riding the waves of whatever we're going with Anisimova. And as she progressed through the match, started really taking on Anisimova as a challenge. And Anisimova had to find new levels to try and come back and couldn't sustain it. And for me, that's where we're at with her at the moment, is the last 2 Grand Slams that she's played, this one and Wimbledon, she peaks at like the quarters or the semis and then doesn't have that peak in the final. She comes down a bit. At Wimbledon, she came down a lot. Here, she came down a bit. And that is not going to be good enough if it's Arena or Iga, the players we've been talking about, that she's playing in that group. So yeah, I guess for me, that's kind of what defined the final of it. Was both their levels for different reasons. Sabalenka's consistent, getting better. Anisimova up and down. But when Anisimova was up, boy, was that final good, and the ball striking was really, really sweet. So that's why I think Anisimova can find a way to peak in the final and still get there. She will win a Grand Slam. It's the tournament management side of things which comes from experience, which I think, despite her age, I think she is lacking a little bit of experience because of various things that have happened that have derailed her path in her career. Injury, family member loss, mental health.
Sure.
That's gonna make a big difference. So I'm interested to see how she handles this occasion if she gets there again. But to me, that's what she would need to win a Grand Slam in the end. It's a step forward. It's an improvement. I'm very impressed with how she handled the post-Wimbledon situation and how she used that Wimbledon final loss as a learning experience, and you can tell that. So
did Sabalenka have a championship point and hit a smash into the net or wide? Or I remember there was a smash against Pegula on match point that she put into the net. And then I think there was another one, and I am going to come back to Anisimova because I think we should move on from Sabalenka now. I think there was another smash. I think when she was trying to serve it out, because I just remember thinking, "Oh no, wow, this is a story of 2 smashes almost." Although 2 smashes that in the end became irrelevant. I'm sure there was one on Saturday as well in the game when she was trying to serve it out. But coming back to your Anisimova thing, I feel very good in a way about Anisimova right now. Is after Wimbledon, I was like, oh no, and I thought this could take a while. We might see her in a 1,000 final at some point in the next 6 months, but I cannot praise her enough for the way she's responded to that Wimbledon final and getting to this final and the performance she showed. You're right, she was a bit up and down in the final, but of course I think Arena can be responsible for some of that. But the way she played throughout, especially in the semi against Osaka. I was like, wow, this is a very different Amanda arriving in the final to the one that I saw arriving in the final at Wimbledon. I was full of doubt in terms of that final, in terms of how she was going to perform and how she was going to handle the occasion. And sadly, that manifested itself in the final, because I'd seen what had gone on against Pavlyuchenkova, even against Arena when she tried to serve it out and just couldn't, because she couldn't keep balls in play. And then once that final was slipping away, like 3-love, 4-love, 5-love, it was like, oh, okay, this is getting a bit uncomfortable. And I just hope she gets a game or two on the board, and it never came to fruition. But on Saturday, I never ever felt for 1 second that was ever going to be a beatdown of any kind. I thought this is going to be competitive, and she made it that way. And I now feel confident going forward about Amanda. I think it's going to happen. It's a bit different with players such as Ons Jabeur and Mukova, who I do fear had their chance or chances, and I pray that they'll get there again, but I just don't know if they will. Whereas with Amanda, I think it'll be okay. I think she'll be there again pretty soon. Maybe not the French Open, but the other 3 slams and other big tournaments, she'll be a factor in all of those.
Who are your top 5 WTA players who haven't won a slam yet in terms of most likely to win one?
Maybe Amanda's at the top. Let me have a look at the rankings, because Jabeur in particular, obviously not playing for the rest of the year, I think. Then so that's not one, but let's have a quick look at the rankings.
I think Jabeur's chances are fading as her career goes on. I think she's kind of, and that's age and fitness as well, and other things going on with her.
So if I had to choose 5, Anisimova and Andreeva would be in the 5. Probably Andreeva at 1 in the 5, as in most likely 2, especially given her age. Yeah, so she's 1. I think for me, clearly, that she, at some point in her career, Milo Andreeva is going to win a Grand Slam. And then the other 4 positions, I guess, could be mixed between Anisimova, Qinwen Zheng, Clara Tauson. I've got to choose one more, haven't I?
Yeah, because you've said, Andreeva, Anisimova, Zheng, Tauson, one more.
Yeah,
but it's interesting you're kind of reaching here.
One more would... I guess I'd go Pegula, but I don't think it'll happen. But I would probably just... She's 31, so that's the bit. If Pegula was playing this tennis at 21, it might be different. But age is a huge factor here, and so that's why Clara Tauson makes it, for example, and Andreeva's a certainty. Let's go Emma Navarro, because she's 24, and I see her as a similar type of player to Pegula, and I think Navarro can just consistently reach semis, for example, especially at hard court slams, maybe even Wimbledon as well. So I'll go Navarro as my 5.
And this is I'm
gonna change. I'm gonna change Navarro to Mboko.
Yes, that was the obvious one. Why is he not going for Mboko?
Yeah, so I just hadn't got that far down the rankings. But no, let's go for her. And I'm pretty happy with that 5, actually.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I can see why. Andreeva, Anisimova, and Mboko are the 3 obvious ones, I would say, right now. For those in the chat, because I've seen some suggestions in the chat, Azarenka doesn't count because she's already got a Grand Slam.
Yeah, she's won some Grand Slams, people. I'm very disappointed that Jake doesn't know that Azarenka's won a Grand Slam.
And then you've got these other ones who've made Grand Slam finals, like a Pegula or a Paolini, who, it's difficult to definitively say no. But are they the most likely to? There's reasons why not.
It's also an age thing. So you've got, I don't know, 8, 12, 16 Grand Slams for them to play for the rest of their career, but we've got probably 100 for Andreeva, I guess. So
I'm still going to throw Mukova in there because she's under 30, and she was like 2 games away from a Grand Slam title. She's become the closest. In some ways. So.
And she's okay on the 4 surfaces, but health is the other thing. How many? I mean, I said 16 Grand Slams less for Pegula or Navarro, but Pegula or Paolini. But how many Grand Slams is she playing per year on average? 1 or 2?
No, she's played all 4.
Did she play all 4 this year? Did she? Okay.
I think maybe she missed Wimbledon, but I think she did play.
She did play Wimbledon, I think. Yeah, she
She
lost
did,
first
yeah. So
round.
she did play all 4 this time.
Okay.
She's still ranked like top 20, top 30-ish, and has a chance at every slam. So if she has 2 weeks where she's injury-free, she can win the thing. And I don't think it's that.
Yeah, because even this fortnight, she had matches that she was struggling in physically at times.
Yeah. And then, yeah, in terms of who else is in there, I mean, I wasn't going to say Zheng Qinwen, but actually I think you're probably right. Because I think she's probably the one that's kind of got a lot of promise in terms of like age category coming through and things like that. But yeah, those are the 5 the most likely. And then you've got players like Pegula. Like Pegula is the one I think I want to put in, but isn't that far off.
Yeah, I'm okay. It's just sort of maths, really, and yeah, Pegula French. Of course, there's maths as well, and I don't think she'll ever win a French Open or probably make a final there either.
I think Pegula's going to be one of those ones who she might be a random Wimbledon winner.
I thought this was a great year for her, winning Bad Homburg, and then
I thought last year could have been a good opportunity as well for her.
Yeah, and even 23 when she had Vondrousa in the quarters, but. Yeah, again, we started the show with this, but some maybes, and it's reared its head again. Yeah, and of course, Pegula obviously making the semis here. I thought this was probably her best chance against Sabalenka in a sort of huge match. I know she's beaten
best performance against Sabalenka.
Yeah, because I know she's beaten Sabalenka before, but I'm thinking sort of in the last 2 or 3 years. I'm thinking Cincinnati final, I'm thinking US Open final, and then this one in the last sort of 13 months or so, as being, I thought this one could go her way. I mean, it did go 3 sets. Sabalenka had some jitters trying to serve it out, as I said. But yeah, it was a great match. I maybe the quality at times was just up and down a little bit from both players, but it was a very entertaining 3-setter, and it was the first time actually any of their clashes had gone to 3 sets in quite a long time, because I think their last 3-setter was in the round of 6, in Cincinnati in 2020. So they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 straight sets results in a row. One of which I think Pegula won. Yes, she did. Yeah, but yeah. It was a much more. I mean, last year's final was very competitive. Was she serving for the second set maybe a year ago? And then Sabalenka broke and then sealed it.
That rings a bell.
Yeah,
I think she was. Those 2 sets were so close.
Yeah, she was up. I think she was up a break certainly, and I think she did serve for the second set. But ultimately, Sabalenka won, I think, 3 or 4 games in a row and got over the line. But yeah, Pegula semi-finals. It is a sort of a theme now. Quarterfinals, semi-finals. I don't know how many quarterfinals and semi-finals she's been in, or actually semi-finals. To tell a lie, semi-finals. She's only been in 1, and she won it, didn't she, last year? But yeah, going deep in slams is certainly a theme for Pegula, whether it be getting to the final or the quarterfinals.
Unless it's the US Open, she seems to be reliable there.
Yeah, but I mean, she's been in at least 1 Wimbledon quarterfinal. I mean, how many quarterfinals? Because she had a bit of a quarterfinal run, didn't she, where she was losing 5 or 6, I think.
Made the quarters everywhere, yeah. Like that, she's made Wimbledon quarters in 23, was the only one she's done at Wimbledon. But she's made French as well, Australian for sure. Like, things were one of the first ones she did. So she's a reliable name on the tour, and will always be will be that for as long as her body lets her. And we're kind of getting to that point.
Yeah, you like French Open quarterfinal as well. I didn't realize that. 2022.
Yeah, I lost to Iga.
Yeah, she's been in 3 Aussie Open quarterfinals.
Sorry,
she's been in 3 Australian Open quarterfinals.
Yeah, including some before she became big, like 21 and 22. So
yeah, in a row. So it was 21, 22, 23 in Australia. She made the quarters.
Yeah, that's I think she's reaching that age where it's now becoming a question of whether her body's going to allow her, but will. To keep going with it, but she's always going to be a consistent name in the mix, and that's one of those fun things we could look at. Okay, who's in the mix to try and push through the Igas and Arenas of this world to get to the top of the WTA and win some slams. Where are you? Thinking of people who've already won slams, where are you at with the Naomi Osaka resurgence? Because that's a Canada final. semi-final in New York, like she's won Grand Slams. She has the name and the pedigree to potentially put herself in the mix with these names, Iga and Arena. But she's also been up and down and has been throughout her whole career. So where are you at with the Osaka resurgence?
I'm pretty much there. I think it is a resurgence. And I've got 2 or 3 reasons to back that up. One, her last 2 tournaments, which have been a 1,000 and a Grand Slam. She's got to the final and lost in 3 sets quite narrowly to Mboka, or maybe the 3rd set ran away from her, but 3 sets loss. She then plays the US Open, and that was a 51. It was a 51-49 for me in Naomi's favor before the match began. I couldn't quite call it, and then I went for Naomi just because of the experience of winning, semi-finals at Slams. And then watching it, it panned out that way in terms of being a 51-49, albeit it became 51-40. So that was a wafer-thin loss, and she could easily have been in the final, and who knows. So, yeah, I'm very much on board. And if that wasn't enough, I want to say something that I mentioned last week, I think in the build-up to the semi-final, was this has, if you watched her a fair bit this year, it has kind of been there. I remember watching her in Miami this year. And yeah, she had some battles against Baptista, for example, I remember, and then Paolini as well in the round of 6. So these are just one-off matches I'm talking about. And they are matches that in the case of Paolini that she ended up losing. But I could watch her for 30, 45, 60 minutes and go, that's Naomi Osaka. There it is. It's still there. She just needs to just string it together for an hour and a half or 2 hours rather than 45 or 60 minutes and win a set or a set and a break, for example. It's there. And it's there against top opponents. I mean, French Open, round of 32, maybe 3rd round against Iga last year. Was it 3rd round or 4th round? 3rd round, I think. Round. Oh, 2nd round. I mean, it was there for 2 hours. It just needed to be there for 2.5. And it wasn't quite. And that's on clay. So there are performances in there for you, not just to clutch at, to go, it's there. She was just losing some of those matches. Rybakina is, in a way, a similar one who, in terms of, getting to a Grand Slam final, hasn't been in one since, I guess, Australia 2023. But there have been results and performances and occasions, maybe more than just, an hour and a half. It might be 2 or 3 matches back to back. And or 2 tournaments. I mean, her American swing, and we'll probably come on to Rebecca in a bit more detail in a moment, but, her North American swing was looking pretty good if you just, again, we're coming back to this theme, and that's what tennis is all about. That's why we love the scoring system. 2, 3 points, and suddenly she's winning at least 1 title, maybe even 2 in the build-up to the US Open. So for me, I hadn't gone away from Osaka quite. I remember even the Asian swing last year when is she up a set and then retires injured against Coco. So there had been so many times in the 18 months, beating Mukova in Australia this year, for example. And there'd been so many results and so many performances that told me it was still there. And so I never quite... And I remember a year ago in the US Open get to the semis, but it was all dependent on her result against Mukova, and she lost. That was one that she lost against Mukova before game. So, yeah, I'm very much here for it. And I think hardcore big tournaments for the next 2 years, she's a factor. I say just the next 2 years is kind of a random figure, but she'd need to have 18 months of terrible results at hardcore tournaments for me to suddenly go away from her. And that never happens and hasn't happened. And therefore, she is a factor going into this Asian swing at the 500s and the 1000s to come. And she will be, right now, if the Australian Open started tomorrow, just off the top of my head, I'd probably have her about 4th or 5th favourite, something like that.
Yeah, she's in there. I'm excited by that prospect. I guess it's like, for me, the one question I have about where I'm at with Osaka right now is, like, the game's still there. And that has been obvious. I think Taras Viktorovski's done a great job of helping her focus and really channel what's good about her game, the same way he did for Iga. So I just guess, like, it's just when the going gets tough in the last couple, like some of these big matches we mentioned, when the going gets tough against Swiatek, Umbilko, Anisimova, Osaka loses in that third set. And that wasn't happening when she was winning Grand Slams. But, I remember that famous, save championship point to win the Australian Open in 21 against Muguruza in round 4.
Oh, that was a great match, yeah.
A good match of the tournament.
Could have been match of the year, and I don't know, but we didn't. We
there was
weren't
a lot
in
of good options in that season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some people would say Kerber Saros Cerebus Tormo. I'm not entirely sure that was what I would go for, but anyway. I think that is that me saying she's always going to have that blocker? No, I think that one day she'll get over the line. I'm just not going to say she's definitively going to do that.
It'll be in your mind for sure, if not hers. One thing I want to say, just in sort of tactically or the way the match panned out against Anisimova, is her second serve was, and it was actually something I was interested in terms of the final with Sabalenka. The second serve of Naomi in the entire third set, it felt like was just being killed by Amanda, and she just didn't really know what to do. I said that in the preview, actually, I remember saying that I didn't think that would be the case against Sabalenka for Anisimova, in terms of the fact that she wasn't going to have, and I think that certainly panned out that way. I think Sabalenka's second serve was a lot more difficult for Amanda to get the trajectory and the speed across the net that she had against Osaka. Sometimes it's just the shape on the second serve is a bit nice, but maybe Naomi could have done something on that second, even if you just slow it down, really slow it right down, or go big. But it was just like 3 points pretty much every service game was going against Naomi in that second set, and it was always putting her on the back foot.
Although Amanda, just one thing to think about. Her return this tournament's been outstanding, because she was doing it to Iga and Arena as well. Not as often against Arena, which is one of the reasons why she didn't win the final. But that would be, I think that's one thing to kind of Osaka can kind of think about. Anisimova was timing the return beautifully in so many ways. But the second serve's always been a bit of a problem for Naomi. And it's definitely going to be attackable for players like Iga and Arena if she runs into them again. And I think that's always going to be the test, is can she beat them? Because we can kind of talk about, anything like that. The reality is that the last, since US Open 24, even if since kind of Iga rose to the top of the game inside of Roland Garros 2022, every Grand Slam other than Wimbledon has been about who can beat Iga or Arena. And that's going to define it. Wimbledon's been this weird outlier up until this season. So, and I think that's going to be the question of who's going to be. And it's like, there's just these little things that you kind of think, okay, maybe not, or maybe they can. I think Osaka's going to have to play the match of one of the best matches of her career to beat them at the moment.
Just trying to think, maybe Wimbledon 23. The question I've got in my head right now is, who was the last person to win a Grand Slam without beating Iga or Arena?
Well, that would be Barbora Krejcikova.
Oh, she did in 24, did she? Okay. Yeah. She beat Rybakina, but yeah. Fair point.
Didn't play, and Iga lost to Putintseva. It was Yeah. Wimbledon's the outlier.
Yeah, Wimbledon's the outlier, yeah. But the other ones, you got to beat those two, basically, so Wimbledon 23, yeah. So, I'm just off the top of my head. Swiatek wins. So if they win it, then that doesn't count. Swiatek wins. French. Oh, so I see you've gone back to French Open 22. Yeah, good. Yeah.
French Open 22. Wimbledon 22 is a bit weird because Arena wasn't allowed to play.
So Australia 22 is the last time. Yeah. That's Ash Barty, of course, didn't. She beat Iga?
No, Collins beat Iga.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, you're right.
She beat Iga in a warm-up tournament.
That warm-up tournament doesn't quite count, but yeah, I know what you mean.
No. And then, so Iga wins US Open 22. Arena wins Australia 23. Iga wins RG 23. Neither of them win or get to the final of Wimbledon 23. US 23, Goff beats Sabalenka. But she has to go through Sabalenka to do it. Irina wins AO24. Iga wins RG24. Wimbledon 24 again. Irina doesn't play. Iga goes out early. US Open 24. Irina wins it. And then this year, Maddie Keys has to beat both Iga and Irina.
Yeah.
Coco has to beat Irina. And then it's been Iga and Irina the last two.
I'm thinking, therefore, from what you've just said, Madison Keys is the only person to have beaten both en route to a Grand Slam title.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you need them. You need the draw to align for that to happen and all sorts. But yeah.
All right. I just want to ask John, because I enjoy having this conversation. What would you say your top match from this year's US Open WTA has been? You've got some good candidates. Say there's 6 obvious candidates here, which is
go on.
Ayala beating Towson, Goff beating Tomjanovic, Andrusheva beating Rybakina, Krejcikova beating Townsend, and the 2 semi-finals. If there's something I've missed and you want to throw a wild card at there,
did you see Vondrousova Rybakina? Because I didn't.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah, it's a pity. I think it was on middle of the night. But the other 3, so I've got Ayala, Towson, I've got Tomjanovic, Goff. I watched both of those. I thought they were both unbelievable. What were the other 3, sorry? The 2 semis?
Yeah, the 2 semi-finals. And then Krejcikova beating Townsend.
Oh, well, I saw that. I just great. I've seen 5 of the 6 anyway, pretty much, if not start to finish, large amounts of it. I mean, Krejcikova Townsend wins the drama.
Yeah,
just unbelievable. Albeit, every match point that went away, it was because of course a lot of those I think came in the tiebreak. I think there might have been a couple during the set itself.
One before the tiebreak, and then the rest were in the tiebreak.
Right, exactly. So she never had back-to-back. What reason I mention that is because every time the match point was saved, I thought Barbora's winning the set now, and she's going to win the match. So every time, even the one during the match itself, it's like, okay, she saved that now. She's actually going to win the set now, and so in the tiebreak especially, because then she's suddenly 2 points away from winning it, and she had a few set points of her own before she got over the line. That's the only thing I would say that I again, to Townsend's credit, she went a break down in the third, and you thought, okay, and she got the break back, I think. So there was still some twists in that third set. So that gets it for the drama. If I was to go quality, I don't know. Goff Tomjanovic was so good. Was so good. The 2 semis, maybe for quality, maybe even Osaka and Anisimova. I'm going to go Tomjanovic Goff. I just thought that they were.
I've not seen anyone hype that match up anywhere near any match since.
No, but that doesn't mean it. That's because it happened at a certain time, and most people were focusing on the fact that Goff wasn't winning it in the way they thought that they would, and they weren't watching it. In the case of, I think, Jose Morgado, who was just like, "Oh, Goff is not playing very well." I was like, "He's obviously not watching this," because they were hitting the ball with both of them were. I mean, Sabalenka Pegula, I agree. I just thought that quality just once or twice dipped in that one. I
also feel like the second set wasn't very competitive in that one.
Yeah, true.
You didn't have any doubt there was going to be anyone other than Sabalenka winning that set.
Towson Ayala had a lot of drama, but Towson went away quite not well in that third set for whatever reason, I don't know. And she was also struggling with the crowd, and also, but that obviously made it a dramatic affair. But if I was looking at drama, that would be in the discussion. But I would probably just go with Krejcikova Townsend in terms of drama over that one. But if I had to throw in quality, it's a 3-horse race for me. I'm going to go quality over drama, so therefore it's a 3-horse race. It's either the 2 semis or Coco Tomjanovic. I'm probably bigging up Coco Tomjanovic because people just didn't watch it, and I did, and it was wild.
I think it was definitely the best match of the first week. If I was going to go best match the second week, I would lean towards Anisimova Osaka, but quite a few people I know like Ghosty. It's not just Ghosty.
Anisimova Osaka loses a point for me if just because it was so late and I was struggling to stay awake. But yeah, but that's not fair. I know it shouldn't be a factor. So actually, someone needs to tell me that was better, and I'll believe them because it was just
I
difficult.
mean, yeah, it's difficult. I didn't watch it live. I had to watch it back, and I knew
it was great. I know it was great. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, when you get to a certain time, you're not going to be able to pay full attention to everything. That's the problem.
I think what goes in that one's favor over some of the other ones we mentioned as well,
Mm-hmm.
because again, Coco Tomjanovic, I always thought that Coco would probably just do it.
Yeah.
Albeit that they were break and serve left, right, and center. And they were break and serve because of some great shots. And there were so many good rallies. But maybe the one that had the most doubt in terms of I have absolutely no idea who's winning this was Tomjanovic Osaka. Or every time I had a conviction of one or the other winning it, I then got proven wrong with the next 5 or 10 minutes of play.
Yeah.
So that one might be in its favor. Because like I say, there's 3 very high quality ones that I just touched on, and that one was I thought Sabalenka was probably always winning that against Pegula for one reason or another.
That one really goes down to I think that was the one I feel like the result was the most in doubt all the way to the end. If you combine that with quality, like it had that best blend, maybe.
Yeah.
Definitely from the second week. So yeah, I think we can agree that they were all really, really good. It's a shame. There are people out there who are raving about Vondrousova Rybakina. I think that's more down to the fact that Vondrousova just played really, really well.
By the way, real shame that she was then injured, wasn't she? And
Yes.
gave Sabalenka the walkover.
Yeah.
Again, you know, I looked at Rybakina being in Sabalenka's path, and then I thought, okay, maybe Rybakina's gone out, but Vondrousova, that's the way she's playing. I'd been watching Vondrousova a little bit in recent weeks. I saw her play Ayala, for example, in Canada, winning that one in 3 sets, and then I saw her progress here as well in New York, and I thought, okay. That'll be an interesting quarterfinal. I think Sabalenka's the favorite, but I'm really excited by it. And then Sabalenka gets the walkover, which, is a real shame for Veronica. Oh, Marketa, sorry.
Marketa, yeah. I think she's had a solid season, Marketa. Like, shame the injuries derailed her, but that Berlin title and then this, like, she's been doing pretty well this season.
I kind of fused Marketa Vondrousova and came up with Veronica there. So
it's over. Yeah.
Somehow.
So yeah. Did you well, we've got it's good stories there from Vondrousova. What about Rybakina? Sort of where are we at with her? Probably not much different. Obviously, she's now officially gone back to Stefano Vukov.
Yeah.
I assume his ban's done.
Just one thing regarding that comment from Ghosty. I had a feeling someone would mention it, but do you know how many points she played on serve? It was wild. The number of times we were going to juice and stuff, and it was a 3-setter. So actually 10 double faults is, a little bit more than the average, but I would expect the amount of service games that she had to probably the average player would be hitting 7 or 8. Anyway, Rybakina sort of just, again, it's a bit like Osaka, as I say, in some ways. There's signs that a slam run is like a semi-final or a final is coming, but it's just not quite there. But it's not far away. It's okay. The stability in terms of her. Was it 10 double faults in 1 set? No. Okay, fine. Sorry. Yeah. The Rybakina thing. It's there. Yeah. It's there. It's not far away for her. And I think, it could be Australia. When I said that Osaka, if that was tomorrow, would be in the sort of 4 or 5 favorites, well, Rybakina would too. So it's not like she's gone away enough for us to suddenly not have her in our power rankings at all, or even in the top 4 or 5, pretty much all the time when we're going into slams that are away from. I mean, look at the French Open. How close was that against? She had a volley or a smash, I think it was, on top of the net to consolidate her break advantage that she had in the second. That point, huge. Iga breaks, and the rest in terms of that match is history. She's very, very close. It's okay. I if I was an Elena fan, and in terms of entertaining tennis, I certainly am. It's okay. She's just like, and it's like Coco as well. It's okay. it's there. It's all right. It'll be back again, and she'll be a factor at 3 of the 4 slams next year. She might lose early in one and get to the semis in another, but yeah, she's fine. It's not far off. I mean, again, US Open tight loss to Vondrousova. She wins that. She beats Sabalenka, and we've got a different perspective. So it's not a big when a player is sort of going out early or having a run of let's say 2 wins, 8 losses or something like that, then you're sort of a bit more worried. But she's not far away, and the losses. I guess there is one thing you mentioned it with I think Naomi, but I think probably Marketa. Here we go again. Elena has even more of a sort of recent history, in particular, of losing tight matches. It's happening a lot. Or serving out a set against Iga at the United Cup this year, serving out a set against Iga in Cincinnati, I think it was. And on both occasions, Iga breaks and wins that set and wins the match. Or you're looking at really close 3-set losses against Mboko and who was it? Leylah Fernandez, wasn't it, in Washington? I think she may have even had a match point against Leylah. So super, super tight matches. Iga, I touched on as a 3-setter as well at the French Open, and they're not going her way. Marketa now, another one in New York, but it's close. It's okay. She'll be winning matches and maybe tournaments in the next few months, I'm sure.
I think keep an eye on her decision swing. Like if you look at who's won Beijing in recent years, it's been players who've had solid seasons, but could do with a shot on the arm to make them special and put them back up, make them special and put them back on the map. Think about Swiatek in 23, Goff in 24. I think Rybakina fits that bill. I think if she's if we're looking like that next step, it doesn't seem far away. I think Rybakina is probably someone to watch in Beijing.
She's also done something. She's also done something this last couple of months, which was at least to sort of improve her average in North America, because in particular the US Open, she'd never, I think, gone past the second round or something like that. Whereas, of course, she got to the round. Never gone past the first. So at least she's taken a step forward there, but also her results beforehand were pretty good. Whereas this is a part of the season when she's sort of sometimes slipped a bit in terms of where she's at. And there was always this kind of anomaly, and I guess to some extent still is, in terms of her results during the Australian swing compared to the North American swing. But she's not quite put it to bed, but it's certainly less of an issue right now.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. All right, John, are there any other names you want to throw out there before we kind of continue looking forwards?
No, not really. I think that was the last one, the sort of Vondrousova, Rybakina sort of thing. Really, I think that's it in terms of US Open sort of bigger picture stuff. Oh, I mean, I have got it in the title, but I think we have kind of touched on it. Is it a slam? Are we in slam races now on the ATP and WTA side? And obviously we're doing WTA. Is it a slam race for Sabalenka Swiatek of sorts or not?
No, I'm going to tell you why. Because first of all, I think Coco will be in there as well, and I think there might be other players, but while we're talking about them being the 2 players to beat right now, I don't see it lasting more than another couple of years, because Sabalenka is a good deal older than Swiatek. Sabalenka is 27. She'll be 28 next season. Swiatek is going to be turning 25 next year. And she's only been 24 for a couple of months. Swiatek's success rate, she's already ahead and she's younger. I don't see, if it was a Sinner, if Sabalenka was a couple of years younger, 26, I'd say yes. But
I understand that.
Because there is that, there are almost 2 different generations of player. I'm not going to be kind of going, oh, well, this person's got this and this person's got this. I don't know if we've seen Swiatek's greatest rival yet. It could end up being Sabalenka. Might not. We don't know. But it's one of those things you're just not sure about in comparison to the men's draw, where you know that Sinner and Alcaraz are going to be each other's greatest rivals. So that's what I think. It's contextually very different when you look at it. And that's why I'm not necessarily looking at who's got more slams out of the 2 right now.
I'd be interested to know in response to this point is to who is just occasionally reminding themselves of how many slams has Swiatek won? How many? Because I'm doing that for the first time, I think, probably post Wimbledon. I think Wimbledon gave Iga her 6th, right? And at that point, I guess Sabalenka was on 3. So I for the first time, I am starting to look at bigger picture stuff, whether you call it a slam race or something else. I'm just sort of going. So let's say pre-Wimbledon, it was like, yeah, Iga's obviously won French Opens and US Open. US Open is helping her legacy, but perhaps if she could get one either in Australia or especially at Wimbledon, that would help, and that would pretty much cement her as a legend of the game. And I think many people would argue that she already is, and that's fine. But it was I was starting to look at bigger picture. I am still doing it even probably a little bit more. It's like, oh, okay, now Sabalenka suddenly 6'3", and given the age gap, I guess, but I agree. I agree that I think the age gap is a factor. But yeah, as Nerland says, Sabalenka could still have 7 years at the top. Don't know. It's a difficult one. But I am sort of going, okay, it's 6-4 now. Okay, that's interesting. But for Arena's legacy, she's obviously really kind of needs one away from a hard court in terms of really sort of getting in amongst those conversations with the legends of the game. And yeah, so I am thinking a little bit more about legacies and rivalries, of course, but it is a rivalry of sorts, no? Right now,
yeah,
it's the biggest one on the WTA tour, and probably has been for 2 or 3 years.
Definitely for a couple of years now. We just don't see it enough, and we haven't seen it.
No, I know. Well, slams in particular, and finals in particular, of course.
Yeah, seen it twice at a slam, both decent matches. Like whenever they play it, it's amazing. I think, like, maybe you can see like this. Arena's already is a great at the game. Arena Sabalenka is a great at the game. She's won 4 Grand Slams. That automatically makes you that. So has been world number 1. She'll probably finish this season as world number 1. Again, like there is no doubting Arena's going to have a really strong legacy. But I just don't put them in the same sort of category. I don't see them as that. I think if we start getting I think if like Iga has an injury that takes her out for a year, maybe that's a bit different, because like she can have another 10 years on it. And I think she doesn't have anyone that's kind of Sabalenka's the only one nipping at her heels, as it were. So I'm gonna say that let's focus on like watching both of them build their individual legacies and enjoy it when they play each other. But I don't think they're going to necessarily be in like huge big picture conversation in terms of like comparing it to other people for a while.
But in terms of bigger picture stuff, Iga would have been Iga fans. Let's say Iga fans. Maybe Iga has different goals and different ideas, but Iga fans would have been desperate to see her win a Wimbledon title at some point, right?
Iga.
Yeah.
I think it came sooner than expected.
But what I mean is if I said to an Iga fan, do you want 2 French Opens or 1 Wimbledon? 1 Wimbledon, right?
Depends on the fan, probably. Some people just want the numbers.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans would go for that Wimbledon. And right now, it would be 1 Australian Open or 2 French Opens. 1 Australian Open, I think.
One more Australian Open to come, and that's going to be the big talking point when we get there. But we're not at the Australian Open yet. We've still got to finish the season. And the WTA Tour is going to be in South America, Central and Southern America this week. WTA 500 in Guadalajara, WTA 250 in Sao Paulo. Guadalajara, few decent names in there. Probably the biggest story is that Sloane Stephens is making a comeback there.
Okay.
So she's back on the tour. She's playing. And then in Sao Paulo, it's basically everyone's going to be packing out to see Beatriz Haddad-Maia, who's going to be the top seed.
Oh right, yes, she is the top seed there. Yeah, and she's at least got some wins under her belt in New York. She does seem to like it there. I think she got to the quarters last year.
Yeah, so she's going to want to feel good. I think she's got a good opportunity to get herself a WTA title there on home soil. Yeah, I could actually go. They said Central and Southern America, but
Latin. You could say Latin America. Yeah. But yeah.
With and then with Guadalajara, I think a few decent players in the mix there. Sao Paulo has already started. Guadalajara starts in a couple of hours, so we're going to be looking forward to those. I think that's kind of the main thing to reflect on, really.
I am just going to say something about Sao Paulo because I think it ties in nicely with one thing that happened last week as well, which is, of course, Alex Ayala winning her first.
Yes, Ayala's playing.
And she's in Sao Paulo. Yes, she's just won a WTA 125. Of course, she was 2 championship points away, or she had 2 championship points, didn't she, against Maya Joint earlier this year in Eastbourne, I think it was, to pick up a title there. That was a 250, I think, right on the eve of Wimbledon.
Yeah, whereas her 125 is just below the main tour. Won that. Yeah, she's well in that final. It was in Guadalajara actually, so I'm surprised she hasn't stayed around for the 500.
Well, yeah. But then Sao Paulo is just another. Yeah, interesting. The Sao Paulo draw, by the way, has Tomjanovic in it as well. I think she's the 4th seed. She's retired. I've just seen a result from today. Tomjanovic retired. Oh dear. So she was actually a set and a break down to Rodriguez. So yeah, pity for Aya because I think she showed some sparks, as I said, in that match against Coco. So honestly, there is a chance for Alex to go back to back because on this surface, hard courts, in other words, it's her and Haddad Maia that are the two. Because Sierra is the number 2 seed, the Argentinian. She's a candidate for sure, but Ayala's in the conversation, and she'll be playing a qualifier in the first round. A qualifier I don't know much about actually. I'm just going to quickly
do some research later.
Yeah, no, I have to do some research. Yeah, I'm just going to see who that qualifier. I remember thinking, I don't know anything about her. So I do apologize doing a John McEnroe live on air in that respect. But John McEnroe is talking about the world number 12 when he says that. Alex Ayala is going to be playing the French woman Yasmin Mansouri. Yeah, who's the world number 380. But yes, yeah.
Well, expect a preview for that coming out soon on the channel.
I think I will do a preview. Yeah, in fact, I will do of some sorts. But I'm going to be reading a lot of Wikipedia and a few other things about Yasmin. And probably the preview will be 3 minutes, unlike the 20 or 30 we do for a Grand Slam final.
Well, we've got that to look forward to. John, thanks for coming on and giving us all kinds of insights on the US Open and everything else that happened for the WTA there. I will leave you in deepest, darkest Germany.
It is, yeah. Winter it's obviously not the daylight, whatever the opposite of daylight saving. It is daylight saving, is it? When we change the clocks in October,
things like that. Yeah. When you change.
Anyway, we're obviously not there yet, but does feel the last. I always feel end of August, beginning of September. It's. I know we can get good days and all the rest of it, but it's like as a kid, you're going back to school. So it's like, okay. Then the daddy long legs come out and the leaves start falling and the conkers are around and the Halloween is there and bonfire night. And just going through the calendar here as we progress. And then in Germany, we get the Christmas markets in November. I don't know if you get Christmas market. I think Manchester, I remember seeing some sort of German Christmas markets.
It's becoming much more popular in the UK.
Yeah, they're a pretty cool thing. It's all on the horizon, as is the Asian swing, and that's all to look forward to. And then the sort of do the women do an indoor European thing? I'm just trying to think.
No, they stay in Asia and then do the WTA finals.
Yeah. All right. So, which of course is in Saudi Arabia again this year, right?
Yes. So we can snuggle up in our autumn gear and enjoy those. Lots more to look forward to. Thanks for coming on, John. And or I should call you John. I don't know if you're John Silk or John Snow because you've been telling us about how winter is coming. I
have been called John Snow before, actually.
I can imagine.
I'm not familiar with that. I'm guessing you are, but I'm not super familiar with the series.
No, but if you Google it, you could pull off the resemblance to Kit Harington.
I think it's particularly when I had long hair and maybe a couple of years younger as well.
So enjoy that image, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll be back for more WTA Weekly, next week. Until then, take care and keep talking tennis.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.